Hello, and welcome to the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast, the podcast redefining women's health, one unfiltered conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jacqueline Rose, and every week I'll sit down with leading women's health experts and real women to share their lived experiences, bust health myths, challenge outdated and uninformed narratives, and explore what's really possible for women. We'll talk about periods, fertility, menopause, hormones, aging, and everything in between. This podcast is for every woman who ever felt confused, dismissed, or left out of the conversation about her own health. It is a space to celebrate women, break the silence, and open up conversations between mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. Please hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and share this podcast with your daughters, family, and friends. Let's get on with the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. I am very excited for the conversation we're going to be having today. It's going to be quite deep, quite profound. Buckle your seatbelts. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things that women experience as we navigate through major life stages, major transitional stages. I'm so happy to have as our guest Amy. Amy, welcome. I know we're going to have a really deep and profound conversation. So thank you for joining me. Tell us a bit who you are, what you do, and we'll get straight into it.
Great. Thank you, Jacqueline, for having me on your podcast. Yes, I'm Amy DeGrossa, and a little bit about myself. Well, full-time, I am a university professor here in the United States. I teach Spanish. I've been doing that for a very long time. I am also a transpersonal life coach, and I guide, mentor women going through many phases of transition through their lives. It can be a career change, a move, a relationship change, empty nesting, parenting, any kind of transition that women are facing. And I am also the mother of four incredible children. I have three daughters and a son. They're grown and flown. My husband and I have been empty nesting for quite a while.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So you do have this very established career as a lecturer, as a professor working in university. So how did you get into this whole space of coaching in this specific niche area? Sort of what brought you to this? Because everything you're saying is going to resonate as we get into our conversation so much with our midlife women, because this is a really transitional, transformational time where a lot of things are coming up. So how did you enter this space from a very, very different other career?
Yes. Thank you for that question. And I think it's really key to why I do what I do today, actually.
Yeah.
And it is something that I have been reflecting about over the last few years is that transitional phase. And what attracts me so much about transitions is growth and awakening, and on all levels, mind, body, spirit. And so my coming to this crossroads in life began really in my mid 40s when I started perimenopause, and at the same time I was becoming an empty nesting mom of four kids. So there's 10 years between my oldest and my youngest, and so that journey of letting go began, right, of so many different things in my life. And one of the critical pieces of that was me coming face to face with my identity and recognizing that, we as moms are always mothers, and yet our roles as moms shift as our kids grow. And of course, here in the States, as kids, leave home to find their lives and move into their own, spaces. So something I want to mention is I grew up in Europe as a young child, and so I was educated in Spain and lived there all the way through college and transferred here to the United States to finish college. And so that was a big part of an initiation for me, was changing cultures. So yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the women that you work with. What are their, why are they coming to you? What are they struggling with? What are you hearing from them? What are some of the challenges? Sort of how do they,
I would have imagined that maybe, if you're struggling with a particular thing in life, you'll go see a life coach.
Right.
That's sort of like the standard type of thing.
Mhm.
How would someone know to come to you?
Yeah.
And what are they saying when they come? What are their experiences?
Yeah, sure. You know, life coaching is very different from therapy. I want to point that out. So, therapeutic services are very valuable and are really important. Actually, I have used them myself. I've used
Yeah.
both therapy and life coaching and have gained different skill sets from both types of these healing tools, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I would say that for the people that are looking for coaching, the way that I sort of define the difference is therapy is really geared towards healing the past
Yeah.
and diving into one's beliefs, one's set of circumstances that one has lived through experience and how
Mm.
one has arrived at a certain place in life and in meeting certain challenges as they come along or developing new awarenesses, one starts to begin to question and recognize, wait a minute, okay, here's where I am. And I'm noticing a shift, and many people come to me feeling lost, feeling a sense of lack of purpose to some degree.
Yeah.
My business is called Pathways to Purpose for that
Yeah.
reason. It is really an opportunity for women to start choosing themselves. I have a belief that we all carry within us divine wisdom, and if we can access that,
Yeah.
um, knowledge within our hearts and connect to our spirit and feel it allows us to come into knowing ourselves as a full human and spirit. So
Yeah.
I think that people are very interested in getting to know themselves at a deeper level. So I would say that crossroads can happen at all different ages. They can happen in mid 30s, mid 40s, 50s, 60s, and
Mm.
beyond. It just depends on where a woman is in their stage of life. And so I really enjoy helping, guiding women who are going through any number of different transitions. And it can be single parenting, for example, and the challenges that come with being a single mom, to being an empty nesting mother, or someone who is really facing a job that they don't love
Yeah.
and trying to find out, okay, where can I go? And so all of these are different crossroads. And what I like to do with clients is really to help them identify what their strengths are,
Mm.
and how they can tap into their inner knowing to create the life that they want to create. And
Mm.
sometimes they don't know what that is. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of working with people, right?
Yeah.
It was the beauty of
Because
working
if they
for,
had the answers, they wouldn't necessarily need to come to you.
right? Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it's also letting people know that you're never alone, first of all,
Yeah.
and that there is no wrong way to do anything. There's always multiple different ways, multiple perspectives to hold. And I think some people can feel trapped. I know I have in my life at certain junctures or certain places.
Mm.
And what I'm aware of is that it often means that I don't feel I have choice. And one of the main messages that I offer is that no matter what happens in life, is just to remember that if you make a choice and it's not the right choice, you always have the ability to make another choice.
No choice. Yeah. So you have also your own menopause story. You're now in post-menopause.
Yeah.
But when we talk about these types of topics, for me, being, very much in the menopause space, a menopause educator and coach, I am always connecting the dots of what the woman is saying, the changes she's going through, the indecision she's going through, the not feeling that this is meeting her where she is anymore. For me, it's always connected to what is going on, where she is on her perimenopause, menopause journey. Because we
Mhm.
know that this stage of life, it's not just about, fluctuating hormones. It's not just about our periods stopping.
Sure.
It's a much more profound experience. So how do you connect the dots between what's going on with them sort of as it relates to their perimenopause menopause experience and the reason why they've come to you in the first place?
Yeah, really good question. I think one of the main things is to really get to know yourself, first of all. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of information available to all of us out there, and there is no journey is the same. My journey isn't the same as anybody else's. So
Yeah.
we have our
Yeah.
own unique story, right? And I think it's really important to be able to acknowledge that and to understand that, yes, we may share certain symptoms, for example, as women are going through different changes of life, but
Yeah.
everybody's story is unique to them. And I believe that our bodies are immensely wise and they carry our story. And the story not only of our physiology, but of our spirit. And so I think consciousness, tapping into consciousness and being able to explore our belief systems um, and really where we place value and our worth, our self-worth, and what experiences are we seeking in life. So I
Yeah.
think it's an inner journey,
Yes.
one of exploration inward. So first that, right, to recognize um, that you have your own story and everybody's story is their own. And you're also not alone. I think one of the things that I found most challenging when I was going through my journey was meeting a place where I did feel all alone, and it was a very dark time in my life where my body was shifting, my mind was just flooded with confusion, and I wasn't sleeping well, and there were just all these other symptoms that
Yeah.
created these circumstances for me, and I needed to seek help. So I think one of the early messages that I always want women to know, and my daughters as well, is to reach out and ask for help, that you're not alone
Yeah. Yeah.
and that it's perfectly okay. Not only is it okay, I think it's really assuring and validating to find someone who is willing to listen and can also offer options, because there's lots of different ways
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
menopause.
Yeah. So it's interesting what you're saying, because I actually ran a workshop this morning, a menopause workshop this morning, with women who are mostly were in perimenopause in their mid 40s, sharing, my approach and talking about menopause from a slightly different perspective and just talking all about, what's going on in their bodies and what's happening. And a couple of them already were a little bit informed, but most of them had never heard any of this before.
Yeah,
And that's what you're saying. Like, the information is not out there. So you
yeah,
feel very alone. You think you're the only one going through this. You think you're the only one wondering what's happened to you, why
yeah,
you feel like you want to just, run to your bedroom, close the door, and never speak to your spouse, your children ever again.
yeah,
And we need to be having these conversations to let women know that, yes, your journey is personalized to you, but there are things that a lot of women are going through that you're not insane,
yeah,
you're not crazy, you're not falling apart, you don't need to be on antidepressants necessarily, that
right,
this is, part of what this experience is.
yeah.
um, so what type of tools do you use? How are you working with your clients? What type of sort of
Mhm,
guidance do you give them? I know it's all very personalized, but are you working with some type of set modality or protocol?
mhm. When it comes specifically to menopause, I use the same type of tools that I use with other transitions, right? It is
Okay.
very much based on connecting the person to their belief systems, really, and also to
Mm,
develop a connection to, because our belief systems drive a lot of what we do and how we respond to life.
yeah.
And so when we can
And just to
really,
clarify, when you say belief systems, you're not talking about your religious belief necessarily. You're
no,
talking about your just the things that you have learned to be true over your life.
correct. Absolutely. Thank you for the clarification. That's absolutely true. It's what are your values? Where are you placing your investment, your attention, your interests, and how are you approaching life from that place? Because I think that many of us can react to life, but we can also
Yeah,
respond to life.
Yeah.
And when we're responding to life versus reacting to life, I believe that we're coming from a place that's more grounded, more centered in our own experience. There's a lot of stimulation out there. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of information out there. And especially, particularly today, I think
Yeah.
more than ever before, you have access to a whole global network
Yeah.
of information. And so, trying to find what's right for you and what works for you. So it's an
Yeah.
exploration process. So for some women, it might be meditation, might be helpful. For others, it might be physical, like embodiment work. I've done a lot of embodiment work that's been profoundly
Yeah.
healing for me. Um,
Do you
so
find that
again,
some women, I guess during the transition time, whatever the transition may be, they
mhm,
sometimes have to release themselves from those old beliefs that they thought were so true and so relevant,
yes,
and then to sort of
absolutely.
reframe and begin with new beliefs? It's like,
Yes.
that must be part of the transition, but part of the trauma of transition.
It is. And one of the tools that I use for that, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist as well. And I
Mm,
have used hypnotherapy for my own healing and for
mm,
others as well, to really dig deep into subconscious beliefs. Because one thing is to be
mm,
aware of what you're believing and acting from your awareness. And another thing is to have these subconscious beliefs from when you were a child, from trauma or experiences or just life experiences that informed you about how to react to a specific
yeah,
situation or respond, and then the beliefs that you developed around it. So, yes. And, reframing a limiting belief comes from being able to identify where's the origin story. So, our
mm,
origin stories around beliefs is really important, because it informs us of why we continue to carry these beliefs through. And when I say subconscious, what I mean is we walk with them, but we're not thinking about them consciously on a
yeah,
regular
yeah,
basis.
yeah,
Something very common, for example, it revolves around worthiness. And for women, that's a very common one, self-worth,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it could
yeah,
have been tied to, for example, I grew up in a foreign country and didn't speak the language. And so, I have a very strong mission in this lifetime to learn about belonging, right? Fitting in. And
yeah,
that can be tied to self-worth. Am I good enough,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when we begin to question, am I good enough? And we can do that in a lot of different ways. Through hypnotherapy, we can identify where it comes from, and then we can adapt, individually to each person's needs, different types of protocols and tools that can be helpful, to help that person navigate through the belief. And is it really true that I'm not worthy? And what
yeah,
would it look like to believe that I'm worthy? And how would I like to reframe that? What is a new belief that I would like to
yeah,
develop, and how do I incorporate that into my life? And what would be a next step, in
yeah,
doing so?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, it is. It
It's
is.
it's very hard work because when it sounds so simple as you describe it, but I'm
Yes.
sure for different women, obviously in different situations, different circumstances, it can take a long time to release yourself of those
Yeah.
primal beliefs that shape who you are, that are not
Yeah.
serving you anymore.
That's true. And yet it all begins with awareness. If you're not aware of it, you're never going to be able to change it.
Right.
So developing first the awareness of it, and then also working on, a vision for oneself. What is it that
Mm,
I want? What experience am I seeking?
mm,
And who do I envision myself to be? Visualization is a huge component of my coaching.
right.
It's
Wow.
really, it's valuable, and it also allows the person to feel in their body somatically what
Yeah.
that experience is all about,
Is
as
all
if
about.
you already were that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you work with sort of slightly older demographic, 40 plus. Are you
Yes.
seeing though that there are signs already or things that they've experienced when they were younger that inform them that maybe if we start to re-educate or reframe those, not even the trauma, I'm not talking about trauma. Like trauma is its
Mhm.
own category, but the way that we
Right.
understand ourselves in society, the
Mhm.
experiences we have as young women, and how that informs us as we age. Are you
Mhm.
seeing sort of, can you see any sort of parallels or information that, the way that we young women are experiencing things and how that then impacts their lived experience later on?
Mhm. Well, having four children, four grown adult children, yes, very intimately. I can relate to this. Just watching them,
Yeah,
grow up and, move through life with the understanding that we are, as parents, love our children. We do the best we can to raise them in the best ways that we can,
yeah,
and we're not perfect. And I think that one of the things that I notice with my kids is that them seeing us live our lives imperfectly also gives them permission to live their
right,
lives with some
right,
spaciousness, with the idea that, wow, I don't have to get everything right.
yeah,
I think there's a lot of push in our society or in consciousness, to excel, to get things right. There's a lot of they place a lot of some people place a lot of um, value on things being or needing to look a certain way. And
right,
so I would say that in and of itself is a life journey of recognizing the uniqueness that each individual has and celebrating that within the
right,
individual.
right,
Because we all form part of a much greater network and we're all connected.
yeah,
And so I think valuing the individual and yet understanding that we together really form part of the same fabric.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, are there some sort of basic actionable steps that you're always sort of suggesting? Obviously, again, we know there's personalization, we know everyone has their own thing, their own
Mhm.
unique story. We know that
Yeah.
everyone has the way that they need to navigate whatever it is that they've gone through. But are there some sort of basic things that women need to be paying attention to? Are there some basic things that you are always saying, like, again, sort of similar to my menopause coach with my menopause women, it's always going to be different depending on what their symptoms are, what their experience is. But there are some basic things that every woman should be doing to support herself. So, are there some basic things, some basic, practices that women
Mhm.
should be paying attention to as they navigate transitional life stages?
Yeah, what a beautiful question. And you're right. I think it is very unique to each individual, but find your thing would be my very first thing to
Right,
say.
right.
And I'm going to lead with listen to your body. Our bodies are
Yeah,
extremely wise and don't ignore symptoms or thoughts. For example, pay attention to your thoughts. What are you thinking? And question your
yeah,
thoughts. If you think that wait a minute, that this is something that every time I think of this, I feel down or low. Low moods can be affected by the way that we think about ourselves. And so
a hundred
coming
percent.
back to where are we placing our attention? That would be key for a key instruction that I would
Yeah,
offer to someone. What are you focusing on? What are you focusing your mind on? What are you feeling in your body? Is your body giving you any
yeah,
indication that something needs your attention? Our bodies are very good at giving us signs.
yeah.
The key is, are we paying attention? And
Yes, yes,
can we tap in and tune into what
yeah,
is my body trying to communicate with me? So
yeah,
develop a relationship with your body and your mind and your spirit. I
yeah,
think those are all really important and valuable things to do. The other thing I would recommend would be to anyone would be find something that you absolutely cannot live without that nourishes you, that feeds your soul, and do it, practice it as much as you possibly can.
yeah,
I love being in nature. It is medicine for my soul, for my mind, for my
yeah,
body. I love walking. Um, I find that to be very soothing. That may not be helpful for everyone. Maybe
yeah,
somebody prefers to run. I'm not a runner, for example. I'm also not a swimmer,
yeah,
but I love the water. Water is very healing to me. So
yeah,
I create as many opportunities as I can
yeah,
to include that in my life as often as possible. And I would say
Yeah.
that developing new habits requires time. You have to practice it
Yeah.
over and over. So give yourself permission to maybe incorporate one new habit at a time,
Yeah.
something that might serve you. Some people love to write and they love journaling. Some people don't like journaling.
Yeah.
Some people prefer quiet or solitude. Other people like to be around,
Yeah.
lots of people. So, but find your flow in the midst of what feeds and nourishes your soul. Some people are musicians. Some people love to
Yeah.
be, listening to music all the time. Some people like
Yeah.
to read. So whatever it is that
Yeah.
lights you
For
up.
some people also, they don't have that answer at their fingertips.
Yeah.
Sometimes their life has taken on a sort of rhythm where they haven't found what their passion is, or they haven't found that thing that really nourishes them and lights them up.
Mhm.
We're going through a particularly difficult time at home with one of our kids, and my time now is not my own as much as it used to be. But I will not give up my Tuesday morning dance class, like whatever
Yeah.
else is going on. And I'm the youngest person in the dance class.
Yeah.
But
Oh
I will
gosh.
not, yeah, no, I love it. But I
Yeah.
will not give that up. My husband runs, so he needs
Yeah.
to run for his mental
Yeah.
health. I need to, move, do yoga, or do my dance class for my mental health.
Yeah.
There are, and I think what you're saying is really important. Like, first, you've got to identify what it is that really fills your
Yeah.
soul. What is it that, brings you that calm, that joy, that peace? And
Mhm.
once you found that, as crazy as life is, and as unpredictable as life may be, or as stressful as life may be, you
Mhm.
can still find a way to include that in your, even if not it's every day, at
Yeah.
least in the course of a week.
I would say start really, really small. Do something for 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes a day just for you,
Yeah.
and do whatever it is that those 5 minutes you really wish you had 5 minutes to do. Do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's just looking at pictures of things that you want to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
start somewhere that's small so that you can build it. Because I think the only way to create change is to make it happen
Yeah.
one step at a time. And you mentioned earlier, what actionable steps can people take? I think that's the key. When we think of setting something new before us, the key is that it has to be worthy of our time. It also has to be meaningful to us to
Yeah.
pursue it. And it has to be something that we treasure, that's near and dear to our hearts, um,
Yeah.
to make it
Because
worthwhile.
I just want to put a little bit of a sort of disclaimer, because when you say, like start with 5 minutes, don't, that's not scrolling on your phone looking at social media.
Oh,
Because I think a
no.
lot of people like, if I've only got 5 minutes to disconnect, I'm just gonna disconnect. I'm just gonna scroll through my phone,
Mm.
look at my Instagram feed, and that's me disconnecting. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, good point. Really, really good point. As a matter of fact, that might be a very first initial step, is putting your phone down for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, we do. We're very digitally aware
Yeah.
and connected. So,
Yeah.
very true. Our attention is one of the greatest gifts that we have as human
Mm.
beings. And where we place our attention is where everything follows. So, our creativity, um, our production. And, we live in a society that is really production focused, right?
Yeah.
Work-wise. And, so finding things that light you up really requires some stillness, I think.
Yeah.
Stillness really helps. And I
Yeah.
have, for example, I have I have some meditations on my podcast. I also have a meditation on my website that's free. It's a heart meditation. If any of your listeners are interested, please go grab it. Um, Being able to still our minds, even if it's for 7 minutes or 10 minutes of the day, it's a really worthwhile activity to
Yeah.
remove our attention from distractions and being
Yeah.
able to focus inward into our
Yeah.
inner experience.
Yeah. Which we were never taught to do. We have no
Mhm.
idea how to do that unless we're
Yeah,
actually educated,
yeah.
because it's not a skill that we were ever, it's not a
Mhm.
skill somehow that we are maybe born with, or maybe if we are born with it, it is knocked out of us through life. The, sort of,
Yeah.
the stillness, the quietness, the looking inwards, the what do I need in this moment? What am I, what brings me joy? What nourishes me? What feeds my soul? Those are not questions that we ever ask. It's how do
Yeah.
I pay the bills? What job do I need for my career so that I can earn more money to pay the bills?
Sure.
Just, we're never really taught. It's
Mhm.
it's not something that is common in our, we're not taught it in university how to sit and be still.
Right.
It's just how to get the grades so that you can get the job, so you can pay the bills and live a certain life. And so what you're
It's a lot of
doing
pressure.
is, yeah, yeah. So what you're doing is really profound, because you're asking questions that we need to be asking
Mhm.
ourselves, and we were never told or taught or learned how to do this.
Yeah, it's true. I think coming back to my story, it was in my mid 40s when I started perimenopause and my children leaving the house and becoming an empty nester. And it was at this moment when I came face to face with a question: Who am I? What am I doing here? What is my purpose in life? And
Yeah,
these questions just started bubbling up inside of me, and there was this unease of needing something more, knowing that there's something more to my existence than just being productive all the time or fulfilling a
yeah,
role.
yeah,
And so it led me to an exploration. And I took some classes at the School of Metaphysics. And that is where I learned skills like visualization and meditation and concentration and just different types of life skills that I still use today in many different ways. But it opened up a door for me to peer into my own experience in a way that I had
yeah,
never done that before. And you're right, it wasn't something that I had known before then. I mean, I had lived a large
yeah,
portion of my life without knowing that. But once you do know that,
yeah.
it's this giving, that it's life-giving because you can't go back to being the
Yes.
way you used to be, right?
Ignorant anymore. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so I think developing awareness is really key to everything that we do.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, another thing that I will share that I think is very valuable, and I did it for a whole year nonstop every day. I kept a gratitude journal, and it was a very
mm,
simple thing. It was just every morning I'd wake up and I'd jot down a few things that I was aware of, and it could be from very simple things like, wow, the sunshine is hitting my face as I'm waking up, and how beautiful and how warm. And, just it could be small things, it can be really big things. How lucky am I to have great health and,
yeah,
all these different things in a home and clean water and whatever it is that the awareness of what we already have and can contribute with to our humanity, and because what we invest in ourselves is always what we're able to give to others, right?
yeah,
And I think that's the beauty of connecting
yeah,
with women like you, Jacqueline. We've just met, and I feel this heart connection with you right away. We're both
yeah,
mothers, we're both coaches, we both, love humans, and we want the world to be a better place. So we share that
yeah,
in common. So I think being able to do more of the things that light us up
yeah,
and just continuing to encourage each other and other people that there's a lot to experience and a lot to learn, and there's a lot
yeah,
of possibility, and there is hope even when we're in the darkest spaces. And I have been in some dark places in my life where things
yeah,
weren't, going well for me, and felt really overwhelming. And I wasn't sure how I was going to navigate. So I just kept asking for help. And so I'm a
yeah,
huge proponent of asking for help. I have my own therapist still. I have two coaches, one for business, one for my relationships with others.
yeah,
So I always seek to know myself a little bit better because I know that I can, when I show up most authentically like myself,
yeah,
then I can really be of service to other people. But if I
yeah,
don't know who I am or what I'm drawing upon, then there's a lot of insecurities that might be
Sure.
guiding the
Yeah.
way.
Um, this is deep and profound, as I knew it would be. One of sort of the last questions I want to ask you before we sort of come to the end is, do you think every woman eventually needs to ask herself these questions? Because it actually connects up a little bit to the workshop I was running this morning about sort of menopause and the fact that at a certain point in time, your menopause journey, the deeper, more profound elements of your menopause journey are going to call you to ask, who
Yeah.
do you want to be now?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about, women in their 20s, in their 30s, who
Mm.
are, growing their career, maybe, starting a family, settling down roots, who are so busy and preoccupied with a lot of big things and very busy with it. If you're, trying to advance your career, you're very focused on your career. If you're, combining that with maybe, you know, starting to settle down, have a family, have kids, you don't have time for any of these big questions because it's life is too busy. Do you
Yeah.
feel at some point every woman is going to end up being faced with these questions, whether they like it or not?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure I have a one answer for that. What I will answer with, though, is that I believe that we're all faced with different seasons in life.
Yes.
And how can we navigate the different seasons of life with as much grace as possible so we're not beating
Yeah.
ourselves up along the way?
Yeah.
Um, because one thing that's very clear to me is that we are not broken. We are not lost, really. We may feel that way from
Yeah.
time to time in our lives, but it doesn't define us.
Yeah.
And so to remember always that there is choice, that there are possibilities, and there is hope. And I know that that can seem like a lot to somebody who doesn't feel that in a
Yeah.
given moment, but I would say that nothing
Yeah.
lasts forever. Everything is a season. So we
Yeah.
go through just like nature. We cycle through. Sometimes we have to hibernate. Sometimes we
Yeah.
get to sprout and grow, new parts of ourselves. And other parts
Yeah.
we get to just bask in the glory of being. So I think the
Yeah.
seasons, if we can really take a look at Mother Nature and soak in the lessons that Mother Nature has for us, I think that it will
Yeah.
serve us. It can serve us in many ways.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer to a very hard question. So thank you. So as we come to the end of this, very important conversation, the podcast is called The Things I Want My Daughters to Know. I have three of them, as do you. And I really start this podcast because I think there's so much information out there that we have had to fight to achieve, and that I want to be able to give, hand over to the next generation of women so they don't need to fight in the same way that we did. So what is the thing that you want your daughters to know? Either, your real three daughters or, goddaughters, nieces, that next generation of women coming up. What is the one message that you really want them to hear and to take from, your life experience?
Mm. That you belong. I think I started this by telling you I really struggled to learn about
Yeah.
belonging.
Yeah.
And I would want every woman, my daughters especially, to know that it is their birthright to be here. And
Yeah.
um, to get to know yourself. Do the work to
Yeah.
get to know yourself. I think it's really a worthwhile investment to invest in yourself, in your well-being, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your psychological health, all of it,
Yeah.
because it is the only thing really that you have any control over is your own
Yeah.
experience. You may want things from other people,
Yeah.
and yet other people can disappoint us. And other
Yeah.
people may want different things than we do. And that's okay. That's their right too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to recognize that you have a very unique purpose in life and that you are loved beyond imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. Not always so easy
Hmm.
for women to hear that, but
Yeah.
yeah, important.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amy, this has been really great. I've loved every minute. Tell me, where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do? They want to follow you. You have your own podcast, which I will be a guest on soon.
Yes.
So tell everyone where they can find you, where you're hanging out online, and what your podcast is called.
Yes, thank you for this. So, my coaching business is called Pathways to Purpose Coaching, and you can find me online. I have a website called pathways-to-purpose-coaching.com. You can email me at amy@pathways-to-purpose-coaching if you'd like to direct email me. I'm also on Instagram, and it's Pathways to Purpose Life Coach. You'll find me on Instagram. On Facebook, it's my name, Amy DeGrossa. And my podcast is called Into the Heart, Finding Wisdom Within.
Amazing.
And it's on all the major networks. And I am so delighted that you're going to be a guest of mine coming soon.
Yeah.
So
well, I am. Yeah,
I was just going to say, I have a free gift that's available on my website.
yes.
If people are interested. I mentioned the heart-centered meditation. I also have a free reflective digital journal available calling Awaken to Your Inner Power. So if folks would like to go grab that, you just go to my website and visit. It's there for you.
Amazing. Oh, that sounds great. I'm definitely going to go take a look. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Go check Amy out. As you can hear and see, she has such a calm, I feel so calm around you. There's some like energy that is really calming because I'm not a particularly calm person. And it's very nice to be in your space. It feels calm and controlled, but held. That's the word.
Yeah.
Held.
Thank you.
So thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Go check out Amy. She knows what she's talking about. She's really supports women at these very pivotal transitional moments. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Please join me again at another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. We launch release episodes every Wednesday. So go check out past episodes or let us know that you've enjoyed this one. Leave a review. Let us know what you think. And we look forward to seeing you at another episode. So thank you, everyone, for being with us.